Chace Barber and Eric Little reserved a Tesla Semi at the launch event in 2017, but even after waiting for 4 years, Tesla did not even start production, let alone delivering the truck. So Chace and Eric got very frustrated and decided to start their own electric truck company. And they named it Edison Motors with tagline "Stealing Tesla's Idea." Welcome to the video. Today we are diving deep into the story of Edison Motors, a startup which is building hybrid truck. We'll cover everything step by step, their origin story, technology behind their idea, their core beliefs, production plan, business strategies, and much more. I'm making this video because after learning about Edison Motors, I feel truly inspired. Their story is an example of what could be achieved when innovation is driven by real user needs and not just profit. Before moving forward, let me make some things very clear. First of all, I don't have a technical background, so I could be wrong about a lot of stuff that I'm about to illustrate. That's why if you don't agree with any of my point, do your own research and feel free to share your thoughts in comments. Also, to support all the points that I make in this video, I have listed down references, sources and studies in description. Please check them out. So let's start with founder and CEO Chace Barber. Chace belongs to British Columbia, which is in Canada. I was also confused, but this name comes from its past under British rule. Chace comes from long line of drivers. His great grandfather ran mule trains and his grandfather drove logging trucks. Logging refers to the process of cutting down big trees in forest, transporting the logs and delivering them to sawmill and processing facilities. One of Chace's earliest memories is riding in the passenger seat of his grandfather's truck while snow plowing. Chace knew right from the kindergarten that he's going to be a truck driver.
That's what I wanted. Like I wanted to be a truck driver all through high school, wanted to drive truck. That's what I wanted to do in my career.
Chace started his trucking career as soon as he turned 19. He drove truck to almost every province of Canada, and after driving truck for 2 years, he wanted to be an owner-operator. An owner-operator is a truck driver who owns and operates their own trucking business. What happened with him next is exactly what happened with your New Year resolution of going to gym. He failed miserably, and apart from his own mistakes, he was met with 2008 financial collapse, so trucking market was struggling. After this failure, it was clear to Chace that he needed to learn a lot about business, so he decided to attend university. But when he went to university, they said
my grades in high school were, I was too dumb to do business. That's straight out. They're like, yeah, your grades suck, Chace.
After telling him his grades were awful and he's too dumb to do business, they suggested him one thing which makes sense for someone dumb: an arts degree.
Your grades suck, Chace. You're not, I don't think you can handle, like, why don't you go for an arts degree?
Though fortunately, Chace found out this university has economics and arts program which allows you to take many business electives, and electives are specialized subject outside of students' core curriculum, but they're still part of that degree program. So Chace ended up taking econ major with many business electives. While studying in university during 4 months of break, he also went driving truck to pay for tuition fee and all. Still, he was able to secure amazing grade with straight A 4.0 GPA. In Indian grading system, it's like getting perfect 10 CGPA.
Just out of pure spite, I think, of the counselor being like, I don't think you're smart enough to do business. Took heavy calculus courses and I ended up with like 4.0 GPA for my entire university career. I was a president of the economics club. 4 years of university, I kept second place in the Bank of Canada economic forecasting competition.
Now that's what I call comeback. Chace was also offered a government job in Bank of Canada, which he did not take, saying they were not paying him enough. They were offering him annual starting salary of 45,000 Canadian dollars. Remember, he drove truck during 4 months of summer break. Well, he made $50,000 driving truck just for those 4 months, which is great. But in India, even if a government job pays 30,000 rupees per month, people will happily accept it because they will make up for the low salary with big dowry. After declining the job offer, Chace was thinking what he should do next. He discussed the situation with his friend Eric Little, who was interested in energy generation, solar project and battery technology. Chace often refers Eric as genius when it comes to power system engineering, but at that time, with his background in accounting, Eric was also confused about his future. Like Chace, he also wanted to own a business and work in the area of energy, which means developing innovative solutions for generating, storing and utilizing energy efficiently. Moving forward, Eric and Chace decided to partner up in order to start their own trucking company. They put together their student loan and savings, which summed up to $10,000, which is not enough at all to purchase a new truck, so they started looking for a second hand. And while searching for it, they came across a 1969 Kenworth that had been sitting in the field for 15 years.
8 years ago back in university, I told Eric, hey, I want to start a trucking company by buying this truck for $4,000 and fixing it up. He was right there restoring this old truck.
By using their sum of $10,000, they purchased the truck for $4,000 and spent $6,000 fixing it, which was a big risk.
Everyone thought we were crazy. You can't take the rest of your student loans, spend that money fixing up a 50-year-old truck from the 60s and go to work as a trucking company.
But you did.
We did.
Absolutely, they did. The truck was named Old Blue. Chace used to drive the truck and Eric handled the sales part of company. And Old Blue turned out to be a superstar. As the company started to grow, they expanded by purchasing 2 more trucks. But then things took a downturn when the mining company Chace and Eric were working for went bankrupt. But as the saying goes, every setback is a setup for comeback. After this incident, Chace and Eric started hauling for oil and gas industry. Hauling in this context involves transporting goods, material and equipment, typically using specialized truck and trailers to remote locations. They both, and especially Eric, was interested in solar energy project. As I told you, energy project refers to a planned initiative to design and implement a system that generates, store and manage energy efficiently. We'll discuss about this in detail in few moments. Traditionally, the biggest issue while working on a solar energy project was installing solar equipment in remote areas because it required significant labor and effort. Team of workers had to travel to isolated locations, spending considerable time setting up panel and infrastructure. This process drained resources and often made project financially unviable. While working in the oil and gas sector, Chace and Eric observed a very crucial concept that later shaped their energy project. That concept was skid mounting, which involved pre-assembling equipment on a movable steel frame or skid. This design allows entire unit to be easily transported, installed or relocated without requiring a big crew with minimal on-site labor. This approach proved to be a game changer in solar projects. With skid mount, they could pre-assemble solar units off-site, then quickly transport and deploy them with minimal on-site labor, resulting in substantial reduction in time, money and energy, making solar projects more cost effective. This idea helped them complete bunch of energy projects which provided them valuable experience of working with hybrid electric systems. Here I would like to show you a clip of Chace talking about their breakthrough energy project in detail. I'll admit this part is a bit technical, and during scripting of this video I had to make this choice whether to include this boring and technical part. But ultimately I decided it's crucial to share because this project is key to understanding their mindset and approach towards energy systems and their environmental impact. After this clip we'll discuss some common questions that might arise in your mind. Though I have provided timestamps, if you want you can skip this part or you can take help of a method that my friend used in order to fight low attention span.
Yeah, the first real breakthrough one was, this is Eric's credit. He came up with the idea. There was a tiny little First Nations community way up in northern BC that we did. 50, 60 people or so. And what we noticed is that when he looked at their power consumption, they had a huge peak load demand. Everyone would get off work around the same time, get home, turn all their lights on, that kind of thing. And they ran a 90 kilowatt hour generator to meet that peak load. But they ran it full time all the time. And you're like, well, that load only exists for like an hour or two a day. The baseline load was only like 20, 25. So what we did was we went in, downsized it to a 35 kilowatt generator. So it can still handle a little bit of peak in that. But the battery, we went up there with a big battery bank and that took that peak load demand. We put in a large solar bank that maintained it during the day. The generator actually didn't even run during the day. We put in about 24 kilowatt hours of solar. So that was enough to actually, like when everyone was out working or doing whatever, it would recharge the battery with solar. That battery would give us about 4 or 5 hours of run time. So 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, that all came in. That met that peak load demand. It then trailed off a little bit of solar, and then when the batteries hit about 40% of their energy reserve, the generator would auto start, recharge the batteries, run for a few hours, and then shut off again, let the batteries do their thing to maintain it all night. So what you have is you went from running a 90 kilowatt hour generator 24/7 to running this 35 kilowatt hour generator 25-30% of the time. We ended up billing them $140,000 to do the system. They saved about $85,000 in fuel in the first year. So a year and a half payback. That's on buying a new generator, solar, batteries, installed, everything said and done, paid itself off in a year and a half of the fuel savings. Plus, there was a couple other nice benefits. One of the guys said like it was the first time that reserve had been quiet since he was a kid. They just gotten so used to listening to this generator in the background constantly, an old Deuce diesel just all day in the background. That was quiet during the day, quiet in the evening. Northern BC in the summertime when they had tons of solar, you could sit out on the lawn. You didn't have to listen to any generator, nothing. It was just pure quiet. The bears started coming back. The deer started coming back. The birds weren't as scared. The wildlife regrew. It was just a much more peaceful thing for the community, and they saved a lot of money doing it. So that was really our big breakthrough into that diesel electric.
And credit for electrical engineering of this beautiful system goes to Eric because he was the one with initial idea of this system. Now let's discuss some common questions. Firstly, why would this community use a generator 24/7? This could be because they lacked a system to store energy for later use. Batteries which are essential for energy storage might not have been part of their system. And why was that? This could be due to several reasons like high initial cost, maintenance challenges, and limited awareness or expertise. That's why they wanted a battery system. Second common question is why did not Chace and Eric make system full solar to completely remove the generator? This question is very important. Look, every technology has three layers: physics, engineering, and economics. So is it possible to build a fully solar power system for this community? Yes, but it would be incredibly expensive. A system solely relying on solar power and batteries would require large and costly battery bank to store energy for cloudy days and overnight usage. Additionally, the weather and seasonal variability of northern British Columbia poses significant challenges. By integrating downside generator with solar power and battery, Chace and Eric created a more practical hybrid system. This approach balanced cost efficiency and reliability, making it the most suitable solution in this situation for the community's needs. Please keep this practical thought process in mind because later it will help us understand why their trucks have generator in it. These successful projects helped Chace and Eric grow their trucking business, which now has 4 fully functioning trucks. But then something unbelievable happened. What I'm about to describe you sounds like a scene straight out of a movie. One of their mechanics was caught selling cocaine, so they had no choice but to fire him, and after getting fired he was also arrested for doing the same. But when he was released from jail, he returned to get revenge. This mechanic has spare key of one of the trucks, and what did he do with it? He drove trucks straight into the yard, smashing other trucks, and he did not stop there. Reportedly, he crashed the truck into the building where his girlfriend was working because apparently he was cheating on him. After this chaos, Chace and Eric faced a crucial decision about what they should do next: rebuild their trucking business or focus on energy project. They chose energy project, and they were entering this field with a lot of experience that would make them stand out. They reached out to Finning Caterpillar. Finning is a Canadian industrial equipment dealer specializing in Caterpillar products. Caterpillar, also known as CAT, is an American construction, mining, and other engineering equipment manufacturer. They are the largest manufacturer of these equipments in the world. You must have seen their excavators with brand name CAT. After getting in touch with Finning, they got to know that they were also looking for something like their skid mounting system to help with their remote solar project.
We actually reached out to Finning Caterpillar and started talking with them. They had some interest in that skid mounted solar racking system. Turns out the same issue that worked really well for us at bringing in modular units was a solution that they were looking for. They wanted something that they could deploy like that because it was a pain to find solar installers, and a lot of their projects were remote mine projects way up in northern Canada, and then you got to find the solar installers and then do the ground racking. Now there's another environmental assessment to go on to make permanent alterations where the skid mount could just be deployed. So we entered into like this licensing contractor agreement, like, okay, you can use our skids, you can put it in the models, we'll install it for you, but we want to be your contractors. We want to build it, we want to install it. It can be a CAT project. We'll use the Caterpillar brand solar panels, and that's how we'll get that ball rolling.
Chace and Eric ended up making this amazing deal with Finning, which allowed them to pursue energy projects and polish their skills, which is going to help them a lot when they decided to start their own electric truck company. Energy project and deal with Finning were going very well, but after all, Chace is a trucker at heart, so even during all this time, he used to talk about electric trucks. And why electric truck? Because Chace worked as a truck driver before starting Edison Motors, and he spent most of that time in the logging industry. As I mentioned before, logging is the process of going up the hill, cutting down big trees, transporting them, and processing them into timber and other forest products. Chace used to drive trucks loaded with these logs like this. These trucks are called logging trucks, and drivers are referred as loggers. In hilly regions like British Columbia, usually logging trucks go up the hill empty and come down the hill fully loaded with these logs. According to Chace, this situation was very good for trucks with regenerative braking, a system that allows truck to recover and store energy while braking or going down the hill. We'll discuss the idea of regenerative braking in detail in few moments. Overall, according to Chace, the idea of electric truck with regenerative braking seemed ideal for logging business. Because when you are going down the hill loaded, you don't require much energy. On top of that, by using extra mass, trucks can take advantage of steep part to convert and store energy for later use. That's when Tesla announced their semi-truck with regenerative braking. Though it was not designed for logging industry, still it made Chace and Eric very excited. So they reserved a Tesla Semi. During a live press reveal, their reservation number was 25, which means they were the 25th guys to reserve this truck.
And what is that, bro?
But even after waiting for 4 years, Tesla did not even start production, which made Chace and Eric very frustrated. Also, when they looked deep into the technology of Tesla Semi, they found aspects of its design and functionality which they believed could be significantly improved, which is also shared on internet, and you can guess what would happen if you go on internet and start criticizing Tesla. In December 2021, Edison Motor was announced to public. Chace and Eric accepted this challenge and started working on their first series hybrid electric truck. So now you know why Chace and Eric actually started this company. Now let's look at the technical aspect behind their idea. To provide you with better technical understanding, I'm about to show you a clip of Anupam Vipul, who runs a YouTube channel named Science to Technology with more than 3 lakh subscribers. I'm also gonna add my points wherever I feel it's needed to keep things simple and clear.
So what's the logic behind it? Logic is very simple, as simple as it can be. First, you take ICE engine, internal combustion engine. Does it need to be diesel? No, they chose diesel because they know what it works, and like diesel is a very work fuel kind of situation, so diesel it is. Can it be replaced with other things? Absolutely, but they chose diesel for first prototype, and of course the first range of vehicles would be diesel only, and then they're gonna offer other options like CNG and other things like that. So you start with ICE engine. ICE engine does not drive transmission. This is the critical aspect. It touches the generator only. The only output from this puppy would be electricity. Now, is that important? Yes, that's the primary reason why hybrids failed in normal market, because nobody had the brains to like, hey, do this. What they had is like, hey, this goes into your wheels, this also goes to the wheels. It's like, that was the concept of parallel hybrid. Benefit, it gives you more power. So if this is like, let's say 500 horsepower, you can have 1000 horsepower because the generator can act as a motor and dump that energy. Short duration. And again, it makes your lightweight engine act like a very heavy weight, but complexity goes through the roof, and you have clutches. You have clutches.
Let me tell you why Anupam sir is emphasizing so much on clutches. Basically, here we are talking about two types of hybrid drivetrains, series and parallel hybrid. In parallel hybrid, both the internal combustion engine and electric motor directly powers the wheels. You can use either of them, or for short duration, they can also work together. In series hybrid, only the electric motor powers the wheels, but it still has the internal combustion engine to run a generator, to charge batteries, or provide power directly to motors, acting as an onboard supercharger, or as we call it, range extender. And that's what Edison Motors wanted to do with their truck. Going with series hybrid was a smart choice due to a bunch of reasons that we'll discuss later. But first of all, in parallel hybrid, to manage these different power sources, clutches are required to constantly engage and disengage engine, motor, and transmission, making the system extremely complex. And I mean seriously complex. I will list down few videos where they opened the parallel hybrid transmission. Please watch them to understand how complex it is. All this complexity results in an increased cost of production, which makes these vehicles more expensive for consumers. And it's not just the purchase price, because the upfront cost of series and parallel could be same, and in some cases series hybrid might cost you more. However, these complex parallel hybrid systems require specialized tools and expertise to service them, meaning you can't just take your vehicle to any local mechanic, which increases the maintenance cost. And businesses purchase logging truck as a long-term investment, so maintenance cost and fuel saving is very important for them. And clutches are one of the many things which makes parallel hybrid systems unsuitable for logging trucks if you need good ROI. Also, these complex systems do not follow KISS principle. Not that KISS, don't get too excited. KISS in this context stands for keep it simple, stupid. Idea behind this principle is to design systems without unnecessary complexity, that are straightforward and reliable, reducing cost and maintenance hassle. And that's exactly what series hybrid provides you, which is why Chace and Eric decided to go with it.
So you are calling it a hybrid, because that's not how hybrid cars work.
Yeah, there's difference between series and parallel hybrid, and now you got two where one is like a plug-in hybrid where it's a fully electric one, and it's a range extended hybrid where your generator fires up. And I think there are a few cars out there like that, and more people seem to be going to it because all the evidence shows that that's the way to go. The other way is you still have a transmission, but you have an electric motor doing some of the regen and then assisting that transmission, but then you still have all the issues of you've got the drive line and where you put the batteries if the drive shaft is running through the middle, and then every time you shift, you still lose your... It's just, there's too much complexity. Just make it a goddamn generator and put the batteries in. That's the way we went. We were calling it diesel electric and then plug-in hybrid, or is it range extended? I don't know. It's like a freight train.
If they also chose parallel hybrid, buyers might end up burning a lot of money in maintenance because of
that stupidity. So this company is like, hey, simple generator coupled to a simple generator, as in like internal combustion engine, generator. Now, why is this important? This makes sure this will only run at 1 RPM. It starts off, it goes to that RPM, done. Now, is that important? Yes, for two main reasons: emissions and mileage. Emission simply because the NOx emission is really hard to control if the RPM is changing. Meaning, if you have this system, you will require a giant computer system, which be mindful. Yes, majority of modern computers have like lot of computational horsepower in driving electronics. There is like, okay, accelerator is this much. This should be the flight profile. Okay, this should be the profile of fuel injector. This has to be lot of computation has to go. Here it's like, dude, 1500 RPM, done, go home, sweetheart. Whatever RPM they choose, but it's 1 RPM. And the NOx emission goes down, sulfur emission goes down, everything goes down. The mileage goes up.
Let's understand how running an internal combustion engine at set RPM and torque improves efficiency and reduces pollution. Every internal combustion has an efficiency island, a sweet spot of RPM and torque where it burns the fuel most clearly and efficiently. By running the engine within this zone, it avoids wasteful revving and stays in its peak performance range. Now let's look at this fuel consumption map of 1.5 liter 3-cylinder diesel engine. Here we have RPM and torque. Now depending on your RPM and torque, we get fuel consumption, which reflects how many grams of fuel your engine will consume to produce 1 kilowatt hour energy. This system of measuring efficiency is called brake specific fuel consumption. Here you can see on top is the most efficient spot, which is what we call efficiency island, sweet spot or peak mileage range. In this case, to get peak efficiency, engine's RPM should be between 2000 and 2500 and torque should be pretty high between 14-16, and your engine will consume 206 to 210 grams of fuel to produce 1 kilowatt hour of energy. Now the same engine at 3000 RPM will consume around 300 grams of fuel to produce 1 kilowatt hour of energy. Or if you keep the RPM same but changes the torque, then engine could be consuming 250 grams of fuel to produce same 1 kilowatt hour of energy. Now let's understand this through some numbers. A regular car's engine peak efficiency is around 33% and logging truck's large engine typically achieves about 38% when operating in efficiency island. That means if 100 units of energy are available in fuel, the engine can ideally extract 38 units. But here is the catch. In real world driving, it's nearly impossible to keep engine in this sweet spot because we are constantly decreasing and increasing speed and torque. As a result, in actual driving conditions, a typical truck engine's average efficiency could go down to 25%, meaning 25 units of energy. Now, even if you transfer this 25% directly to wheels, assuming 100% transmission efficiency, though mechanical transmission provide you 90 to 98% efficiency, you still get only 25 units of energy going to your wheels to move the vehicle. However, in series hybrid, engine is not connected to drive shaft and acts as a generator. This allows it to run at fixed RPM and torque within its efficiency island. In this case, if engine is 38% efficient, you can easily extract realistic best 35 units of energy. But you can't transfer this energy to wheels as efficiently as mechanical transmission because in normal trucks, transmission is very efficient but engine is inefficient due to real life factors, and in series hybrid, engine is efficient but as of now, transmission is comparatively more inefficient. So now you have to take in account 15% loss due to conversion, because first you have engine which is running a generator, from there energy goes to power management system, from there it goes to batteries, and from batteries it goes to motor driver, and at the end it reaches the motors to drive the wheels. But even if you lose 15% from 35 units of energy, you still get 29.75 units of energy going to your wheels, which is approximately 19% more than a conventional truck in similar condition, meaning your vehicle will travel further on the same amount of fuel. Let me clarify, all these numbers and efficiency percentage can change depending on your engine, transmission and use case. The efficiency improvement of engine could be as low as 13%. Generally, it should not go less than 10% because then it might not make much sense. But what I just explained is the logic and math behind why we use series hybrid in locomotives and other super heavy duty vehicles. 10 to 19% fuel saving might not sound much to non-truck operators, but if you go to any truck operator and give them 10% fuel saving while providing same amount of output, they'll be like, I don't care if your truck costs 30% more.
Shut up and take my money.
So fuel saving is like blessing for them, and all this fuel saving without even considering regenerative braking and other factors that reduce your TOC. Now let's see how environment benefits from this concept. If your engine is running at a set RPM and torque, it also emits less pollution. Lower emission is very important for medium and heavy duty trucks because their number is very low, but their contribution to emission is substantial due to their size and constant use. For example, in Europe, trucks account for less than 2% of vehicles on road, but these trucks are responsible for 25% of climate emission from road transport in Europe. In US, medium and heavy duty trucks make up only 5% of vehicles on road but account for 25% of US transportation emissions. And according to a report published by International Council on Clean Transportation, in India, medium and heavy duty trucks account for only 2% of vehicles on road but contribute 40% of the total road transportation emissions, more than any other vehicle segment. This is why Edison motor truck with hybrid system are much better, because series hybrid system ensures constant power generation to charge the batteries while consuming less fuel and producing fewer emissions. Now you might say, if it is so good, why did not we implement it earlier? Well, the answer comes down to the technical limitation of batteries, cost and infrastructure. The only way we could have done it earlier was through direct drive. That's why locomotives started implementing this in 1930s. Because locomotives don't have large battery banks, energy comes from generator, goes to power management system, then to motors to drive the locomotive. So now you know how series hybrid provides you better efficiency, and it's good for
environment to have an engine running at 1 RPM. Then they can fine-tune everything to work at that RPM. Generator fine-tune to work at that one system. So they have internal combustion engine, generator, and then power goes to battery, and then battery drives the motor. It does have regeneration. Now regeneration is very important for these folks. Why? They have the very unique job of taking an empty truck, going on top of mountain, collecting with the wooden logs and bringing it down. Now you must have noticed there is energy there. Yes, there is energy. So what they do is they charge the battery, and yes, it can be charged from outside. Yes, it has system, but it's not requirement. Requirement as in like you're gonna have it, but like if you're like, hey, I'm only doing it once in a while, here and there, you can directly run on electric only. What they have is like they charge the battery, go up to the mountain, bring it back, but because it is so heavily loaded, basically they went up around 12 ton, came down at almost 60 ton. They're like, hey, regeneration, do your magic. So they charge the battery, they got more energy, and they dumped the load on the surface level, went up again, and now they are literally running on free energy. Can this be done? Yes, there are many trains on this planet that does this, but it has to be very unique circumstances where you always have a train that is coming down a very steep grade and going up empty. If that can be done, it can be done.
As I mentioned earlier, logging trucks present a great opportunity for regenerative braking or regen, which can significantly reduce fuel consumption, and fuel saving is like blessing for them. As the saying goes in the trucking market, buying the truck is the cheapest part, it's everything else that drains your wallet. Just take a look at this data on truck operating cost. Fuel expenses sit right at the top. In many cases, the total cost of fuel consumed in 1 year can easily exceed the price of truck itself. There are different ways to convert energy with regenerative braking. The method that Edison motor wants to use is one of the simplest. But first of all, you have to understand that there isn't much difference between a motor and generator. Internally, they are almost same. That's why in electric vehicles, we call them motor generator or MG. So how does their regeneration work? Actually, when truck is moving forward, the motors power it by using electricity from batteries. But when you ease off the throttle or press the brakes to slow down, the motors turn into a generator, converting mechanical energy into electrical energy and slowing down the vehicle.
So as you can see, we're just moving under electric power right now. And I'm driving about 15 miles per hour. But as I let off, when I'm coasting, the car is going to put power back into the battery through the motor generators. You can also see this on the charge gauge. As I accelerate, when I let off, you see that dips in the charge. And when I put my foot on the brake, that'll go deeper into that charge. And what that's doing is using those motor generators to put drag on the axles, which will charge the battery.
This system slows down the vehicle due to Land's law, which states the induced current in a conductor always opposes the change in magnetic flux that created it. That is, it opposes the wheel's motion. So a wheel is moving counterclockwise, generator creates a force clockwise which slows down the vehicle. Generated electricity by regen goes to the power management system because it needs to be regulated to match the battery's charging requirement. Power management system ensures the energy is stored efficiently and safely for the later use. That's how regeneration works in series hybrid system. In parallel hybrid system, things get ridiculously complicated because first you have engine, motor generator 1, MG1 and MG2 all packed in the transmission and mechanically connected. This means a lot of coupling and decoupling has to happen to apply regenerative braking. I won't even pretend that I understand every little detail of it. So if you want to take a deep dive, I've already listed down some videos. Please check them out. By applying series hybrid due to better engine efficiency, we can expect 5 to 15% of fuel saving. But if you add benefits of regenerative braking, the fuel saving can range between 15 to 95. Now you might say, isn't it a very wide range? Yes, it is, because it completely depends on your use case and steepness of your path. And let me remind you again, Edison Motor wants to use this tech in logging trucks, which go up the hill empty and down the hill fully loaded. That's why
regeneration is very important for them. And prime source can be anything. This is the interesting aspect. This is diesel generator as of now. It can be changed for a case of India, which I do expect India to wisen up in future and utilize our resources. This puppy, the things come out of there. Why? Biogas. What is that? Methane. What is that? Clean burning fuel. What can we do? Drive trucks with it. This can be replaced with CNG. Delhi, basically Upper India already has CNG infrastructure, so it won't even be a big thing. And once we start to use biogas, it won't even be carbon polluting. It will be just carbon neutral. Two practical options. You can have diesel and you can have CNG. CNG, I really see some serious potential because again, we do poop out a lot. And if we can start collecting all of them, we're gonna have a carbon neutral source of CNG, so might as well use it. Battery capacity. Now this is where clever part happens. The battery capacity and weight is low. Why it's low? Well, they do not need very huge one because they have a backup. So this is a very wise system because everybody will open their mouth and it's like, I want 10,000 kilometer range. Do you really? Like in car case, not majority of people don't even need more than 50 kilometers. But let's say you give them 100 kilometer, because we are comparing sizes, everybody's like, no, mine's 200 kilometers, mine's 400 kilometers. It's like, every time you increase battery capacity, you reduce your efficiency because your vehicle is now heavier. It's consuming more megajoule just to move itself without any payload. So having a smaller battery is far more efficient, meaning if I give you 1 megajoule in this puppy, how far this will go compared to if I give you 1 megajoule, same technology, but they just double the battery size. It will be less. Battery is very small, weight is very low, minimal, and the target was like if you take diesel equivalent horsepower to this puppy, same is also easier on the grid. And this is another aspect you have to understand. Trucks consume power like there is no tomorrow. If you can you drive these things with electric motors? Absolutely. But it would be literally like running locomotive, like a small locomotive. These puppy consume boatload of power, and they do not have the luxury of locomotives, metal wheel or metal rails. It does not have that luxury.
One of the biggest misconceptions people have is underestimating just how much power these heavy duty vehicles consume. To put this into perspective, National Grid, one of the largest investor-owned energy company in the world, conducted a study in 2022 called the Electric Highway Study. This study focused on the energy demands of fast charging infrastructure along highways in northeastern United States. The goal of this study was to assess how much improvement would be needed to achieve the zero emission vehicle sales target set by New York and Massachusetts. Specifically, these states aim for 100% sales of zero emission light duty vehicle by 2035 and 100% sales of zero emission heavy duty vehicles by 2045. The study found that to achieve this goal by 2045, a large highway fast charging site for heavy duty vehicles could require as much power as a small town, which is not impossible, but I think it would take much more time. According to my research, achieving the energy production demand is not the biggest roadblock. Biggest roadblock is the lack of infrastructure to manage and distribute this energy. But yeah, don't get me wrong, I think it will take time, but most probably EV is the future, at least for low power consuming vehicles like regular cars. For heavy duty vehicles, it will take much more time. However, as of now, we simply don't have infrastructure to make high power consuming vehicles fully electric for majority of situations.
The power draw on these puppies, just saying that, oh, we're just gonna have a hypercharger. It's like hypercharger requires 1 megawatt minimum per link. That's not happening. Like right now in India, in Canada, in Australia, in USA, many countries, we are denying solar system because we do not have grid to connect them. And you are saying, oh, in this middle of nowhere, now we're gonna put megawatt charger. Yeah, that's not happening. Not like stop doing this, man. That's not happening. So it's much easier on the grid. So the smaller battery, they can charge it, and if it's not available, they got their own source. So that's the logic behind it.
First of all, I would like to thank Anupam sir for continuously creating this A-class content which helped me better understand this technical aspect. Please go check out his channel. Now you must have understood Edison Motors' core idea, but series hybrid drivetrain is not new. The actual challenge is how you use this already existing proven technology and modify it to make a logging truck, and that's an engineering challenge. And engineering challenges require a lot of money, but because Edison Motor did not have a proof of concept yet, it was hard for them to find an investor. So where would they arrange funds for this project? The answer to this question lies in a very important part of Edison Motors' brand: internet popularity.
Edison Motors.
Edison Motors.
Edison Motors.
Edison Motors.
Edison Motors.
Edison Motors. Edison Motors.
Though they had a convincing idea, but nowadays you don't just sell a product or idea, you also sell the story behind it. And story part of Edison Motor is very strong. When you hear about this brand name Edison Motor with tagline stealing Tesla's idea, which they started when Tesla was unable to deliver their semi-truck. I don't know about you guys, but even if I know nothing about trucks, due to this incredible story, I'll definitely check out their brand. Thanks to Chace Barber's amazing content and online presence, they were able to attract a lot of people who showed interest in their vision, which helped them raise 450,000 Canadian dollars by crowdfunding. They offered shares in company in purchase of merchandise such as hats.
Honestly, we thought it was going to take years to get a first truck built, and how are we going to, and we'll fund it off. And then basically we had a thing where we did a little bit of crowdfunding and we raised like $450,000. And I'm like, hey, if you buy a hat, you get a few shares in the company and we'll go for it. And that got us enough money to build the first truck.
If you take in account big expenses that go into building EV proof of concept, $450,000 is not that big of an amount, though it was a decent amount considering they arranged it by crowdfunding. Edison team started working on this project with limited fund, and when you're working with limited fund, you have to keep your expenses low, which they absolutely kept in mind. In fact, Edison team did not even have a proper workspace. That's why they were working in Chace Barber's parents' backyard. Also, they used old blue for this project with the vision of modifying this diesel mechanical from 1969 to a series hybrid electric truck. But despite limited fund and lack of proper workspace, Edison team worked very hard on this project, and in July 2022, which is within a year, they completed their proof of concept, which gave North America its first series hybrid truck.
Insane what a man with some willpower can do in that garage, that's for sure.
Right?
They renamed it from Old Blue to Carl, which was name of one of their investors' father who sadly passed away when they were starting the build. Carl was looking great and functioning as expected, giving the team boost of confidence. However, it was not enough. As they wanted to build a logging truck, the most important question was, could Carl haul logs? They found answer to this question when they tried to pull heavy load and snap their drive shaft. So no, Carl was nowhere close to hauling logs. Not just that, there were several other areas that needed improvement. One of the most fascinating of them was soundproofing. At first, you wouldn't think soundproofing would be an issue in electric vehicles. After, one of their biggest advantages is that they're quieter than traditional vehicles because they don't have an internal combustion engine running full time, which is typically the loudest part of a truck. However, while discussing issues with Carl, Chace mentioned that in terms of soundproofing, it was more comfortable to drive when it was a diesel mechanical. Let me explain why. Human ears have something called auto gain control, similar to this microphone. In the loud environment like with the noise of diesel engine, our ears lower their sensitivity that makes small noises barely noticeable. Plus, the steady noise of engine is predictable and constant, so our brains quickly adapt to it. But in the electric truck, where environment is much quieter, our ears increase their sensitivity to pick up even small noises. As a result, the little squeaks and rattles become much more noticeable. And because these little noises are irregular, they can be extremely irritating. This is why, despite being overall quieter, an electric truck can feel less comfortable to drive if soundproofing is not done right. Edison team did not just steal idea, they also steal parts from Tesla. Most of the parts used to hybridize car, including motor, battery, and output shaft, were repurposed from a Tesla car. As a result, the system lacked the power and durability to haul a fully loaded trailer.
Okay, one of the things that did not work on our electric truck is the Tesla motor works, but if you look down here, believe it or not, the output shaft of a passenger car is not rated to pull a fully loaded semi-trailer. No, we end up snapping these U-joints or snapping that output shaft. We've actually put a cuff and a collar with some shear bolts in it now. So if you're gentle with it, you don't really snap it, like even moving like an empty trailer, it's fine. If we get somebody in there that likes playing around with the power and we let somebody else drive it and they mash their foot, it has so much torque and this is so much weight to move that it will snap that output shaft.
In Kal, the fuel tank was placed at the front while batteries were positioned at the back. Because batteries are heavier, this setup resulted in less weight being distributed to front tires. Ideally, the configuration should have been reversed, but it was not a complete failure. It served a critical purpose as a proof of concept. It allowed Edison team to check their wiring harness, control, battery installation, generator performance, and most importantly, their ability to build an electric truck. Also, it provided some very valuable data like fuel mileage, which showed they had 50% increase in fuel mileage compared to when Carl was old blue with diesel mechanical. This was because now engine was running at set RPM and torque, and most importantly, regenerative braking. But this data was not completely reliable because Carl was not hauling logs. It became clear to them that to achieve their goal of building a series hybrid truck capable of hauling logs, they needed to learn from their mistakes and improve. So in November 2022, they started working on their next project, and this time they were not in mood to just convert any existing truck model. They decided to build their first production truck, L500 aka Topsy. This time things were a bit different. After their proof of concept, more and more people showed interest in their vision. They also received some tempting offers by investors which they did not take because their vision was not aligned with investors' profit-centric mindset, as they support ideas like no planned obsolescence and right to repair. We'll talk about them in detail while discussing Edison Motors' core belief. But with the help of their supporters and people in this field, they raised 1.4 million in a week, and then they had to stop due to limitation on crowdfunding for companies. Again, 1.4 million may sound a lot, but if you'll compare it to other EV companies, when they were working on their first production truck, they spent way more compared to Edison Motors. Now they had more money and a large community of people supporting them, which also helped them grow their team by hiring more passion-driven people. And with a new team, they started working on this project. What's really interesting is that this truck was initially designed by their supporters. Edison team arranged an online design contest inviting their community to submit designs for company's next truck. They allowed their supporters to directly influence the design process, so they received hundreds of designs. After narrowing it down, they chose these top 10 designs. Which one do you think was the winner of this contest? I'll give you 3 seconds. Here it is, the winner of this contest. Damn, it looks cool. By the way, I wonder if the creator of winning design got some sort of reward like company share or something. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any information on that. By keeping winning design in mind, Edison team designed every part of truck. It was the first truck designed and built in British Columbia since 1990s. Sadly, they were still working in Chace Barber's parents' backyard, but despite all these hurdles, they completed this project within a year. In September 2023, Edison Motor introduced their new truck Topsy. Let's first talk about this name. Topsy was name of the elephant electrocuted in 1903. Yes, electrocuted. Allegedly, it was done by Thomas Edison to discredit a new form of electricity, AC current, discovered by Tesla. With this name, Edison team was building on historical joke, which is part of their brand. Again, a brilliant strategy to gain people's attention. But as they say, what's in the name, it's the actual product that matters. Topsy was absolutely amazing compared to their first try. I mean, they improved almost all the things which were wrong with their proof of concept car. Keeping all the learnings in mind, they made bunch of changes while developing Topsy. First of all, after realizing soundproofing was much more important than they had originally anticipated, to address this, they improved the soundproofing in Topsy, making it more comfortable to drive compared to car. In car, the fuel tank was placed at the front and the batteries in the back. However, in Topsy, the design was improved by moving batteries in the front and fuel tank further back. Now more weight was distributed to front tires, enhancing steering, handling and overall payload balance. Car had an open generator at back, making it more exposed to rain, mud and dust. But Topsy uses IP68 rated liquid cooled generator complemented by C9 CAT diesel engine capable of producing about 250 kilowatt of energy to charge batteries. Topsy had 280 kilowatt hour lithium iron phosphate batteries with nice discharge rating of 2C. The C rating of a battery indicates its charging and discharging capability relative to its capacity, meaning a 280 kilowatt hour battery with 1C rating can discharge its entire capacity in 1 hour and charge at a maximum rate of 280 kilowatt. But that same battery with 2C rating can discharge its entire capacity in half an hour and charge at a maximum rate of 560 kilowatt. High C rating is very important for series hybrid vehicles to meet peak power demand and regen efficiency. For example, if you're driving your truck while generator is charging batteries at 280 kilowatt and regeneration occurs, such as going down the hill, the truck won't be able to take advantage of regenerative braking if battery has 1C rating, because it's already being charged with its maximum capacity, which is not recommended. It should be around 250 kilowatt for battery health like in Topsy. But on the other hand, if your battery has 2C rating, it can store energy from regen while still charging at 280 kilowatt. And why don't just install 560 kilowatt hour battery? Because it will increase cost and weight of battery and other components. Also, lithium iron phosphate batteries are more stable compared to lithium ion batteries and less prone to thermal runaway, which can cause your vehicle to burn like paper. But the most important question was, could Topsy haul a fully loaded trailer? And Edison team was not in mood to test Topsy with any regular load. Instead, they chose literally a World War II tank to check Topsy's hauling capability.
Oh, I'm so nervous right now. $1.5 million on the line. Can we move this without destroying anything? Okay, so our engineers said, don't all load, get the testing, but we're here at the Boss Garage and they've got a Sherman tank with a Chevy on it.
And like, I can't not take this opportunity. This is too cool.
Okay. This is exciting. Very exciting. Slightly terrifying. Super terrifying.
All right, moving.
Got this, buddy.
That is pretty awesome.
Fucking right, man. This is awesome.
We did it! Look at this.
Yeah, it's so effortless.
Whoa.
Yeah.
This thing, it acts like nothing is there.
Yeah.
Like I don't even feel like I'm pulling a trailer right now.
Crazy electric work, man. Yeah, wire batteries are.
Oh, that makes sense. I'll go put her up on the scales. Oh yeah, look at that power. Come to a stop on a hill, she still pulls her out.
Yeah. Oh man, this is awesome. This is exactly what we wanted to see in performance.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, 100,000. Wow.
106.
Incredible.
We just moved 107,000 pounds with our electric truck. Yes, we just moved 19,000 pounds more than a Tesla Semi. And this thing,
Unbelievable, man.
this thing went so good. It was like there was nothing there. First go, too. We moved 20,000 pounds more than a Tesla Semi hold on the very first time it ever pulled onto a trailer.
Guys, it's insane to see this thing move, and also this is the very first thing it's ever hauled. So to haul that amount of weight is just super impressive, and to do it here with DeVos, I mean, how cool is that? I'm so honored to be here and to witness this. This is incredible.
Topsy hauled this tank like a piece of cake. Topsy has EXLs with planetary gears rated for semi-truck loads, eliminating the issue of weak output shaft, which enabled it to haul this tank weighing more than 100,000 pounds, which is about 45,000 kilograms. Unlike diesel engine, which takes time to build power, electric motors deliver peak torque instantly, making it efficient at starting and maintaining control under heavy load. It also made driving trucks smoother experience even under heavy weight.
But this is like, as soon as you haul it, it just kicks ass. Every driver, we've let a lot of other truck drivers, trucking companies try this truck out. Every single time a truck driver tries it, they say, I don't want to go back to my normal truck. They're like, it's better in every way. It's better for fuel mileage. It's better for power to the ground. We're putting out twice. There's no gears to shift. When the generator's off, it's quiet. Like, it outperforms. This is the way we should have been doing it for the last 20 years.
You know, even with lithium-ion technology coming into the fold, right? So maybe that's what we had to wait for as the world, right? As a society, to kind of wait for lithium technology to get better. It's still wild how trains have been electric, diesel since the 30s, and we haven't applied that same concept to trucks, because that was kind of because I mean, we're a bunch of kids, right? It's like, how can we possibly pull this off? And Chace was like, well, freaking trains have been doing this since the 30s. It can't be that bad.
Alright, so Edison team built a series hybrid electric truck capable of hauling heavy loads. However, without government certification, it cannot be legally used as a logging truck. Then comes the most difficult part of their journey, dealing with government to make this truck road legal. Chace has mentioned this many times that it's easy to build a truck in your parents' backyard than dealing with government to make it road legal. They had to submit numerous papers, and government representatives checked every part of truck from engine to nut and bolts. This whole procedure took them 9 months, but at last they did it.
Here, check this out. We have a license plate inspection. So we've got registration, insurance, a VIN number, and an actual license plate for our that we made, which means that we have passed all the government tests we needed to pass. We're heading up there on Thursday to go put the license plate on, and then we can actually drive. So we met all the testing, product testing, driving, safety inspections, which means that we have made our own truck from the frame rails up that passed the government test that it needed to be on the road. A few short days ago, we officially became an OEM manufacturer that built our own cab and chassis.
The amount, like, that is a feat. Like, I mean, all the regulations and testing, and How did you manage that? How did you
Bro,
manage all of that?
That fucking sucks. There's no way to say that sucks. That sucks so much. People are like wondering, they're like, hey, you did Topsy, and like we hauled DeVos Garage's Sherman tank there. And they're like, where's the more testing? How come you're not driving it on the road? Be like, do you know how much paperwork is involved that you have to submit to prove that you built a vehicle that's safe to be on the road? And I'm like, there wasn't a lot of content because I basically was spending 14, 15 hours a day just at the computer with a bunch of other guys at the computer. Submit this. Like there was probably like 10 people helping to just get this truck across and submit things. And that sucked. But we did it.
Now, Topsy was road legal at least in British Columbia and ready to do what it was made for, hauling logs. As it was the first series hybrid truck in the world to haul trailer completely filled with logs, anything could have happened.
The day has come. Topsy is going to be pulling its first load, actual load of logs. We're now at the mill. We're doing a bit of mill transfer.
And we're live. Time to go to work. Tail lights all work, airbags are inflated.
Okay, this seems so fitting for Topsy's first real load. Because we built a diesel electric truck, we figured we had to load it with a diesel electric Laterno. This Laterno log loader was built in 1970. Up here you got a Detroit diesel with a generator. Everything on this machine is run off of electric, from electric hubs to electric winches for the boom. So this is exactly what a diesel electric truck could be. Diesel electric just works. It's reliable, it's a powerhouse, it's wicked good on fuel. These Laternos are something else. I think it's really, really cool that our first load for our diesel electric hybrid is with a diesel electric hybrid. I gotta remember if I can still throw wrappers. Oh. Nope. Nope. Ah. Ah. There we go. We are loaded, right? Like it didn't feel like I was loaded there. What are we pulling? That's nothing. What? No, we're only pulling 60 amps? Oh, this thing is awesome. It doesn't even notice, like I can't even feel that there's a load behind me. Honestly, I forgot I was even loaded there. We only pulled 60 amps of current to move that. This thing did not even notice it was there. I'm like, okay, this is the first load. We got a full weight. It's heavy. It's gonna be a bitch to get this thing moving. Like I'm used to a truck letting the clutch out, throttling in. We just picked it up and it moved it. Like,
wow, this thing is awesome. This is crazy. It's like it's not even there. Where's that big ass pothole there? She don't give a shit.
Awesome. The first load went really, really well. We used about 30 amps when we were empty. We used about 100 amps when we were loaded. In total, we've got about 800 amps available, so we can use 8 times more power. That first load was a little bit more constrained. But for a first test of actually delivering loads of logs into the sawmill, this was incredibly, incredibly successful. So proud of the whole team here.
But but it hauled all this load like it was nothing. The truck did not even seem to notice the weight of logs. So finally they built world's first road legal series hybrid logging truck.
Basically, we built this truck from the frame rails up. This came in as 2 pieces of raw frame rail. We designed, built, put every nut and bolt in this thing. We got it out, we got it working, we went through the inspection, the regulation, it got a VIN number as a licensed truck. Every time people said we couldn't do it. Oh, you won't be able to build your own electric truck. Well, we did it with Carl. Okay, well, that was a one-off retrofit. You won't be able to build your own. But we did build our own and it worked. And they said, well, then you won't be able to build your own truck and get it road legal. We not only built it, we got it road legal. Every time somebody says we couldn't do it, we've done it. We've done it because we know trucks. We're truckers. We built trucks, restored trucks, love trucks, live in trucks. Me and Eric live and breathe these semi-trucks. You don't need a team of 400 or 500 Silicon Valley tech bros to tell you how to build a logging truck. You need loggers and mechanics. That was the secret. We didn't need to raise hundreds of millions of dollars. We got it done in my parents' backyard out of a tent, and we got them. We had mechanics that had worked out in the field logging. Mechanics that had been 40 years servicing trucks. We got truck drivers in here saying that this is how the truck should be. And then when we needed the help with the EV side, we contracted that out. We weren't starting as an EV company trying to learn a truck, because you can do EVs. It's just moving power. Electric vehicles have been around since the 1930s with freight trains, 1960s with the Laternos at the sawmill. What's fundamentally important is the truck part of the truck, and we knew that. That was our advantage. That's why we won. That's why we didn't need to release the brakes and roll it down a hill. That's why when we were waiting for 7 years for a Tesla Semi, we were able to build our own in 2.
In this particular clip, Chace makes it sound very easy, so let's try and balance it out with a bit of skepticism by discussing in detail where series hybrid makes sense and where it does not. It's very important to understand that at present the idea of series hybrid might not make sense for a lot of applications, and here I'm talking about the concept of series hybrid in general and not about the Edison motor trucks. So in this section we'll focus only on the practicality of series hybrid drivetrain itself. A YouTuber with channel name Watch Quest Work made a video on Edison motors where he raised some very valid questions, and one of those questions was about the real world practicality of series hybrid drivetrain.
The most dubious factor: a diesel electric hybrid is more efficient than a regular engine and transmission. The Edison truck is a series hybrid. A diesel engine powers a generator, the generator charges the batteries power the electric drive motors. There is no mechanical connection between the engine and the wheels. Edison says that's more efficient because the generator only runs at its most efficient RPM. Hybrid semi-trucks are not new. I looked through research papers on hybrid trucks. I could not find any information on series hybrids. As far as I know, no one's ever made a true series hybrid. They've always been parallel hybrids. That means that through a complex series of clutches and gears, there's some way to couple some amount of engine power directly to the wheels. That's true of the Prius, that's true of the Chevy Volt. As far as I know, it's true of every current hybrid semi-truck. The reason is simple. It's more efficient. This study by the Oak Ridge National Laboratory found a 7 to 8% increase in fuel economy was possible with a parallel hybrid semi, but no significant savings were found with a series hybrid due to the, quote, large efficiency penalties associated with converting propulsion energy from mechanical to electrochemical form and back to mechanical form.
I have this study with me to help us understand this point better. First of all, this study was not conducted on actual trucks. It was conducted through a simulation software called Autonomy. Also, there are few other things to keep in mind about this study. Like, core purpose of this study was to compare fuel economy effect on long-haul highway trucks by implementing 3 different types of hybridization. As you must have understood, series hybrid provides you 2 main benefits. First of all, your engine runs at fixed RPM and torque, allowing it to stay in peak efficiency range or efficiency island. Second, regenerative braking captures the energy that would otherwise be wasted while braking or going down the hill. Logging truck is one of the best use case to take advantage of both of these situations, because typically logging truck's engine runs inefficiently and they go up the hill empty and down the hill fully loaded, which makes regenerative braking specially useful. This study by Oak Ridge National Laboratory in 2015 was not conducted on logging truck. It was focused on long-haul highway trucks. Now let's take example of a long-haul highway truck. These trucks cover long distances on highway where they mostly operate at a constant speed, meaning there is very less engine inefficiency due to constant RPM and torque change. Also, it's a highway, so steepness of path is extremely low, so there is very little opportunity for regenerative braking. That's why at least currently series hybrid system might not make sense for long-haul highway trucks if you're looking to improve just the engine efficiency, because you might not benefit enough from both of the upside to justify the added cost. However, Edison Motor is not building long-haul highway trucks, they are designing logging trucks, and even then all the logging trucks might not benefit same from series hybrid, because the economy of series hybrid depends on many factors like steepness of your path, use case, and operational requirement. Also, this study does not consider a very important factor, which is extreme complexity of parallel and dual mode hybrid, which increases the TOC. Owner has to pay for this complexity in the long run. When I met Anupam sir at Auto Expo, I did ask him why aren't other companies using series hybrid and why are automotive brands focusing more on parallel hybrid. While answering my question, he also explained why parallel hybrid cars fail to replace traditional diesel cars. So why other brands are not using serial hybrid?
There are a lot of companies that are using it specifically that are serious about what they are doing. For example, heavy machine equipment, diesel locomotives, submarine, anything that is serious and heavy, they are already using it. And as to automakers, they have the problem that they want double power for short duration. It sounds very good. For example, if you have 250 horsepower motor and 250 horsepower engine, for short duration, you can make it into a 500 horsepower vehicle. That sounds very good, very easy, and that's why F1 does it. But F1 does not have money constraint. But because F1 is a major technological development partner for all auto brand, that technology forcefully trickles down into the lower system, and it has been being done from 1990s and still has not succeeded because of this exact reason. It's not logical for anything that has to have very high ROI. Right, a very quick response. That's why diesel locomotive for 1 century has been using series hybrid drivetrain.
First of all, I'm not trying to compare apple with oranges, and this question was asked in context of Edison Motors. Before asking this question, I told him that I'm working on a detailed video on Edison Motors. Also, let me be very clear that we have very limited data on hybridization of trucks, which makes it very difficult to predict how these technologies will play out in the long term. However, personally, I think if truck manufacturers also followed parallel hybrid trend same as car manufacturers, they might also realize that parallel hybrid does not make financial sense for most of the regular use cases. This is just my personal opinion, and I would love to know your thoughts on this, so please feel free to share them in comments below. So series hybrid might not make sense in use cases like long haul trucking where engine is already running within efficiency island and there is little opportunity for regen, but then you also have to consider factors that contribute to increased TOC if you go with parallel hybrid. On the other hand, it might make sense for use cases like logging trucks, waste collection trucks, and urban transit buses, but due to lack of real world data, it's very hard to say how much of difference it will make, and it gets more complicated. For example, construction trucks might adopt series hybrid system because many places have legal restriction on construction and other heavy duty trucks due to their unbearable noise. With series hybrid, these trucks can operate on electric power in noise sensitive areas, eliminating the roar of diesel engine.
Speaking of applications, there's some cool things that I'd like to highlight beyond the video is where we've had some customers reach out to us and they weren't even thinking in fuel mileage savings when it came to the trucks. An example was for a concrete mixer. We had a concrete company reach out and they're interested in doing a truck. Now, one of the issues is that they want to do a pour 24 hours a day. They don't want to shut down mid-pour, but a lot of cities have noise bylaws. You can't run an engine after 10 p.m. till 6 a.m. No diesel engines, where they can get around their noise permits by shutting off the generator when they hit the residential zone. They may have an hour at a smaller battery pack, maybe an hour of driving range, but they got to go in 15 minutes into the residential area, 15 minutes to unload, 15 minutes back out, and then they fire their generator up. It allows that concrete company to keep their batching plant running 24 hours a day, which means that it's more economically feasible to do a lot of jobs. They don't have to shut the truck down. And we've had a lot of customers that reach out for different applications for that on-site quiet thing. So there's definitely like a niche in those things where what's the economic cost of shutting down an entire job site because of a noise bylaw permit? it. And we're like, man, that doesn't even, didn't even think of that before we started this. So it's quite interesting.
There's a lot of the way the world's going now too. There's a lot of companies, especially as they're mandating you have a certain amount of electric trucks, and they'll give the bid to the guy who's got 2 electric trucks on his fleet to do the same job as where the guy with none could have done it, but now he doesn't. So it helps you out that way too, especially in like where there's no chargers. How would you make that work? This is actually a way to make it work.
Just like that, you have to consider a bunch of factors like long-term sustainability, fuel price fluctuations, maintenance costs, government incentives, infrastructure availability, and emission regulation. So whether a series hybrid would make sense for a particular application completely depends on use case and bunch of other factors. To truly understand where Edison Motor is headed, it's very important to look at their core beliefs, because these core beliefs guide their business practices and product development. Until now, at least, these core beliefs are considered fundamental and non-negotiable by company. First of all, no planned obsolescence. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correct, but planned obsolescence is a business strategy where products are deliberately designed with limited lifespan or functionality, causing them to wear out, fail, or become obsolete sooner than necessary. This forces consumers to replace or upgrade more frequently, boosting sales for manufacturers. To counter this, Edison Motor claims to design their trucks to last as long as possible by using high quality material and robust design. For Topsy's frame rail, they used half-inch thick T10 steel, which provides a similar strength to a double frame rail. Their half-inch thick frame rail's tensile strength is approximately 105 psi, which is similar to 110 psi of double frame rails, while avoiding issue of rust jacking. Because double frame rails involves placing one frame rail inside other, this creates a space between 2 frame rails that is difficult to access and clean. With the vision of no planned obsolescence, Edison Motor wants to make trucks that are designed and built to last, which is great, but you cannot build a truck which would never break or require repair. Which brings us to the second core belief of Edison Motors, right to repair. According to this concept, consumers should have options to repair and modify products that they own without excessive restriction. It includes access to necessary parts, tools, and information for making repairs. This company acknowledges a simple truth that truck parts break. So to actually ensure longevity and durability, they make repair process as easy as possible. For example, their trucks utilize standard readily available parts like headlight, turn signal, and glasses that you can find at any local part shop. Unlike custom proprietary parts that are expensive and hard to source, this approach saves time, money, and effort for truckers. Imagine your truck's headlight break. If you have a standard headlight, you can head to any nearest part shop, grab a replacement, fix it, and you're good to go in no time. But if your truck uses custom built headlights that are exclusive to a specific manufacturer, things get complicated. Now you have to contact that manufacturer. That not only consumes time and effort, but also opens door for inflated prices. Let's take another example. Topsy has grade 8 bolts, which means if any part bolted to frame rails break or crack, all you have to do is unscrew the bolt, repair or replace the part, and you're good to go. In contrast, if your truck has hug bolts, it's very hard to service them in field because you either have to torch it out or cut it. Also, these custom parts don't really offer any significant performance advantage over standard ones available in local shop. They're just designed to look fancy, and even in the cases where they do perform slightly better, the improvement is marginal, yet the cost could be multiple times that of a standard part. I like how Edison Motors sees the inevitability of part failure not as a business opportunity to exploit the customers, but as a chance to minimize downtime and repair costs, and they are transparent about it. One of my favorite thing about Edison Motor gotta be their commitment to transparency, even when it involves openly discussing their failure and challenges. Edison team, and especially Chace, maintains an active presence on online platforms, sharing videos, responding to comments, and engaging with suggestions from their audience. What's remarkable is how candid they are. They have released multiple videos highlighting issues with their trucks, detailing future plans, and even addressing all the risk if you invest in their company. Seriously, how many companies create a full video outlining all the risks their investors might face? This level of openness builds trust and promotes accountability, making their process more relatable and trustworthy. After understanding their core belief, now let's discuss their future plan. Firstly, for production,
I want to be a big truck manufacturer. Do not get me wrong. My passion is trucks. I believe in our product. I think we have an amazing product. We have some amazing technology, and we have an incredibly well-designed truck that's going to save our customers money. It's going to save them downtime. It's going to be reliable. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Alright, so their long-term goal is to become a big truck manufacturer like any other EV company in this field. But as we have understood, they're a bit different from any other EV company. So their vision to achieve this goal is also kind of opposite to other EV companies. For example, Edison team noticed a troubling pattern among many EV companies. A lot of them failed because they took large investment and rushed into large-scale mass production very quickly before even properly refining their product, testing it thoroughly, or gaining operational experience required to handle complexities of mass production.
Too many many EV companies, they're spending other people's money. They raise way more money than they need to, and then they put on way more staff than they need to. And they have fancy offices and huge $300,000 a year salaries for the CEO and team. And like, no, I made my salary $1,000 a month. Lived in my, this is my parents' house. I'm living in my parents' basement. We work out of my parents' house, out of their backyard, and we're still going $1.5 million after building the truck. So like, we've just lived incredibly frugally. We haven't needed to go back and raise money. So we're only taking what we need to get us to the next finish line. And that's kind of our whole ethos is too many companies get too greedy and it becomes about the money, not about the truck.
Recognizing these pitfalls, Chace and Eric chose a fundamentally different approach. So in their next phase, they'll be building only 10 trucks, 5 semi-trucks and 5 pickup trucks.
Don't want to do too many? There's been a lot of questions. Well, why don't you sell more and then just stack your production in the future? That's not the way I want to operate. I want to take the time and do an amazing job of each of these groups of 5 trucks, dedicate the time and the resources to making each truck absolutely amazing, getting every single kink worked out. As you know, Topsy works great, it goes out, it does the job, it hauls, the generator works, the batteries charge it, we got amazing torque, but there's little issues like programming 3-in-1, there's everything wrong with Topsy. Now, we've made those improvements to these next trucks, but we would be kidding ourselves if we say that the first 5 trucks we build for customers are going to be perfect. We're confident enough in our trucks that we can now give them to customers, but I'm not confident enough to start mass production, or you could end up in a situation like another company where you hop to production of 400 or 500 trucks, and then you find out you have major problems with that truck and recalls become a nightmare. I want these to be the best trucks on the road, the longest lasting, and the only way you can do that is spend the time and energy dedicated to 5. 5 of these, 5 of those, get it right, do it right. Then when you're ready, take the next step to production.
By starting with limited production run, they can test and refine their technology, identify and address production challenges, and gradually build expertise required for mass production. Also, they can finally move out of Chace Barber's parents' backyard because as a part of their future plan to build their manufacturing and testing facility, they have purchased 300 acres of property near Golden, British Columbia. Due to this slow and steady approach, they are not looking out for big investment. That's why they decided not to go to venture capitalists, because their vision of growth is not centered on maximizing investors' profit at all cost.
It's going to take longer. It makes it harder to raise investment money. Believe me. Oh my God, venture capital is awful. The amount of them that wanted us to make, I'm not even kidding you, like we've had so many investors that said, we want you to basically lie to people. You're going to tell them that you're going to be at 10,000 trucks a year within the next 3 years, and we're going to rush you to IPO as fast as possible because we're going to pump that valuation. We're going to come in, we're going to give you $10 million right now. You're going to make all these promises. We're going to rush to IPO to make it so that you can do it, but you need to be able to do that within 2 years. And that's not a realistic goal. Take your money, you can leave, and we're going to do it slow and we're going to do it the right way. But you can see investors are venture capital is one of the biggest issues in this state. We've been pressured so many times.
Yeah, with the lie. Just imagine this, like if it's happening to us. I mean, this is what's impacted some of the companies that I like cherish and support dearly, like Aptera, like other companies that are trying to do that.
Seems pretty good.
Like I just can't imagine the pressure they.
Oh, I'm sure they have pressure.
I'm sure it's the exact same thing. So I'm just like, we definitely want to acknowledge that technology keeps improving. Parts are only going to get better and easier to source, and the slow and steady horse, I think, will win.
And I'm not saying they won't or should never take investment. I think there are a lot of investors who will see eye to eye with their vision, and let's see what happens in future. For now, by avoiding venture capitalist funding, Chace and Eric retained full control of their brand. This independence allows them to make decisions that may not always maximize profits, like low planned obsolescence and right to repair. This helps them focus on what truly matters, delivering an exceptional experience to truck drivers. I just hope they don't shift too far from these values.